Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Miranda and I am the Enchantress of Avalon. So for today's Fairy Friday video, I decided we would do a Fairy Tale Friday. And I will be discussing the appeal of fairy tales, and I'll specifically be focusing on my top 5 favorite fairy tales. Now, those fairy tales are in order: Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Beauty and the Beast, Rapunzel, and The Little Mermaid. Now, this lineup does change a little bit, but these 5 have always been my favorites. That first slot of Sleeping Beauty, it really doesn't change, and Snow White's right there in second. The other 3 sometimes vary, but right now they are definitely in that order, and Beauty and the Beast is definitely firmly at the middle spot. Okay, now let's get into tale by tale why I personally feel attracted to these tales and what I view as the appeal of them. Okay? So, Sleeping Beauty. Why would I be attracted to the tale of Sleeping Beauty? Pretty obvious, honestly. I am hugely into anything fairy tale and anything fairy lore. And this tale has fairies everywhere. We have fairies of dark energy like Maleficent, or she's unnamed in the original text, but we know her as Maleficent, and she is a dark fae, literally called so in the Maleficent movies, that particular species of fae is known as the dark fae. And she is the one who does the evil deed that gets the ball rolling on the plot. However, we also have the good fairies, and the good fairies are just that. They are beings of positive energy. And yes, they're still fairies. Yes, they're still part of this whole blueprint. And this rooting in traditional fairy and folktale beliefs is exactly why I love this story so much. And there's a second reason I love this story so much. And it is that although this is technically a romantic fairy tale, as we do have a love story element to it, and living happily ever after with a prince that she's in love with is how our protagonist ends the day. That makes it a romantic fairy tale. It is a romantic fairy tale. However, even as a hopeless romantic, the love story isn't what gets me in this tale. It is the fairies and the going within that is part of this tale. And that is that Aurora, who is the Sleeping Beauty character, she's also called Briar Rose in different ones, and in Disney they call her both. She is, during the sleeping curse, literally going within herself, and she is doing an inner journey, an inner work. It is a shadow work tale. This is the evolution of a young woman going from being a child to being an adult. And she awakens into a world where she is an adult woman. She has adult desires, and she is ready to be a wife and a mother in the near future. And that is what this tale really does for me. It's that transformation. She's essentially, during the sleeping curse, a butterfly in a chrysalis, waiting to emerge. She went in a caterpillar, she went into the chrysalis, she will emerge a beautiful butterfly, ready to spread her wings and fly into the next chapter of her life. And that is the appeal of most fairy tales, is it's about transitions and transformations. And because we have a lot of female fairy tale protagonists, it's usually within women's lives. That's why so many women are into fairy tales. That's the secret. There is so much we can learn about ourselves and our own inner journeys and outer journeys through these tales. Moving on to Snow White, because Snow White is directly tied into Sleeping Beauty with the deep, dark inner shadow work journey during a sleeping curse. Both characters are going from childhood to adulthood during a sleeping curse. The curse is enacted in different ways. In Sleeping Beauty, it is pricking her nail on the spindle of a spinning wheel, or in some versions, getting a seed of flax stuck underneath her nail. The darkest, earliest telling of Sleeping Beauty does use the flax. That is the Sun, Moon, and Talia. I'm not going into details on that one. It's really dark and twisted. I might one day do an entire video on that story, but not today. And of course, in Snow White, after failed attempts, because there are actually failed attempts in the original Grimm Brothers telling, there's a failed attempt at a corset that will strangle her, all the breath out of her. There is a failed attempt with a poisoned comb, which, when stuck in her hair, puts her in a death-like sleep. The dwarves, both of those times, are able to get her removed from danger. You know, they cut her out of the corset, they remove the comb from her hair before any deep ramifications happen. But it is the apple, the poisoned apple, that ends up actually putting her into this sleep-like state, death-like sleep. It is important that it is an apple. First of all, an apple ties it to fairy lore and fairylands because Avalon, my favorite of all the fairylands, as this channel is named after my blog, White Rose of Avalon is named after it. It literally translates to the Isle of Apples. Apples are sacred fruits. They are the fruit of knowledge and the fruit of sexuality. And that is exactly what she is gaining in this time. She is gaining the understanding of how to be a woman, and she's gaining sexual desire, and she is gaining the perspective to be ready to be, again, a wife and mother when she comes out of this. It's super important. The other thing that appeals to me in this tale is that there's use of mirror magic. I love magical mirrors. I did an entire video on magical mirrors, and I've written some blog posts about them. And this is my cat Harlow, who decided to join us for the video, apparently. Say hi to the internet. So, third tale, Beauty and the Beast. This is unique on this list in that this is the only tale on my list of favorite fairy tales that the appeal for me is in the romantic tale. The story of Belle, or Beauty, falling in love with the Beast, despite the outward visage, despite him being a beast, and seeing beneath the cover of the book into the contents, into the heart and soul of who he is, that is the appeal. This is a truly balanced tale. We get perspectives from both Beauty and the Beast during the tale, and we learn how their feelings are evolving. We know that Beast's feelings come first, and Beauty is slower on the uptake of the feelings. And it's utterly magnificent. It is about the yin and the yang, the balance of the masculine and the feminine energies that it takes to have a healthy relationship. This isn't just lust-fueled one-night stand. This is, how do you build a relationship? You have some things in common, which they do. They're able to sit and converse and enjoy each other's company. But you also have a lot of differences where you balance your partner out. And that is true love, and that is true romance. And that is the appeal of Beauty and the Beast. Tale number 4, Rapunzel. Now, Rapunzel, we're back to inner journey. Why do I love Rapunzel? I love it for the tale of a young girl who is able to break free of the constraints and leave the tower and learn that she is more than just this sad, scared little girl. She is capable. She gives birth alone out in the woods and then finds the man that she loves and is able to heal him of blindness so that they could raise their children together. That is incredible fortitude. And she learned all of that by being abandoned, by being locked from the tower and having her hair cut. She needed to cut ties with the old in order to embrace the new. Fifth and final tale in this video is The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid, although in the Disney version, is a super romantic, adorable love story, it's not that originally. It's the story of a young woman who, yes, wants the love of a prince, but mostly she wants the love of a prince because she's a mermaid and was born without an immortal soul. Mermaids live a long time. They live about 300 years. But in this universe, mermaids don't have immortal souls. Only humans do. The only way for a mermaid to gain an immortal soul is to have a human declare their love for them and to then marry the human. And that is what the mermaid is actually fighting for. That is why she's willing to go through the immense pain of having legs. Because having legs isn't just this walk in the park for her, pun intended. She feels pain, excruciating pain every time she walks, like glass cutting into her feet, and she bleeds because of this. But she keeps going. And losing her voice, she didn't just lose her voice, she had her tongue cut out in the original fairy tale. That's how they took her voice. But she perseveres and she wants to have the love of the prince. But he can't fall in love with this girl he can't even communicate with. So he falls in love with another girl, another princess, and marries her. But thanks to her sisters, the mermaid has a chance to save her life because she had sacrificed her life if he doesn't love her. All she has to do is kill the prince. They'd got a magical blade from the sea witch by giving up their hair. She took their hair, she gave them a magical blade that could kill the prince and save their sister's life. But the Little Mermaid did still truly love this young man, and she couldn't do it. So she dies and turns into sea foam. But then her spirit rises into the sky and she meets these air fairy angelic beings that are these spirits of the air. And they are, much like her, former supernatural beings who wanted immortal souls. And they said that given the fact that she didn't kill the prince when she could have to regain her soul, she was able to now have a chance at a soul by going and doing 300 years of work as essentially a guardian angel helping humans. And the more she helped humans, the better chance of her one day gaining an immortal soul. So it ends on a happy note, but that's only because Hans Christian Andersen's publisher was like, yeah, this is really sad. You can't just have her die and turn to sea foam. So he added that little epilogue of her having a chance, and it's left open-ended. And that's the appeal. The appeal is that she desired a soul, and she was willing to do anything she could to improve herself and to go after her dreams and desires. And that's a great message. And if you want to know a little bit more about how fairy tales impact transformations in our lives, I recommend Joan Gould's Spinning Straw into Gold, What Fairy Tales Reveal About the Transformations in a Woman's Life. And it has chapters on most of the fairy tales I discussed. I do not think Little Mermaid is in here, though. But absolutely incredible. I highly recommend. So thank you so much for watching. Have a very happy Faery Friday. And if you liked, please like, comment, subscribe. Check out my blog, roseofavalon.life for more content. Bye now.